the sleepy town of Dunwich, Massachusetts, the summer of 1985 was one that no one would forget. Children laughed under the sun, unaware of the darkness lurking beneath the surface of their idyllic world. For a group of 6 friends, self-dubbed the Dunwich Dreamers, the summer promised adventure, freedom, and the innocence of youth. But something ancient and malevolent stirred in the shadows, feeding on fear and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. This is the story of their battle against an entity known only as the Shadow, a force that thrived on terror and wore the faces of their deepest fears. The air was thick with the scent of pine and the hum of cicadas as the Dunwich Dreamers gathered at their secret hideout, a crumbling barn on the edge of Miller's Woods. There was Tommy, the fearless leader with a crooked grin; Sarah, the bookworm with a knack for solving puzzles; Lucas, the artist who saw beauty in everything; Jenny, the tomboy with a fiery temper; Marcus, the quiet thinker; and Ellie, the youngest, whose wide eyes held a strange wisdom. The summer had been perfect until the first child vanished. Little Jamie Carter, only 7 years old, disappeared while riding his bike near the old storm drain on Carver Street. The town buzzed with worry, but the adults dismissed it as a runaway case. The Dreamers, however, knew better. They'd seen the storm drain, its rusted grate like a gaping maw, and felt the chill that seemed to emanate from it. "I heard whispers down there last night," Ellie said, her voice barely above a whisper. The others exchanged uneasy glances. Tommy scoffed, but his bravado couldn't hide the tremor in his hands. That night, Lucas dreamed of a figure in the shadows, a clown with a painted smile, holding a red balloon. When he woke, his sketchbook was open, filled with drawings of the clown he didn't remember making. The disappearances continued. By mid-July, 3 more children were gone, each last seen near a storm drain or the murky Dunwich River. The Dreamers noticed something the adults didn't: red balloons floating in strange places, tied to trees in Miller's Woods, bobbing over the river, or hovering outside bedroom windows. Sarah, ever the researcher, dug through the town's archives at the library. She found newspaper clippings from 1957, 1929, and 1901, each describing a wave of missing children. The articles mentioned sightings of a strange figure and red balloons. "It's not a person," Sarah whispered to the group. "It's something older." One afternoon, Jenny followed a balloon into Miller's Woods, her curiosity outweighing her fear. The trail led to an abandoned well, its stones slick with moss. A voice called her name from the depths, soft and coaxing. "Come down, Jenny, it's fun down here." She stumbled back, heart pounding, as a hand, pale and claw-like, reached from the darkness. The Dreamers began to see the shadow in different forms. For Tommy, it was a werewolf, its eyes glowing in the alley behind his house. For Marcus, it was a faceless man in a suit, standing motionless in his backyard. Ellie saw her grandmother, long dead, beckoning from the storm drain. Each vision was tailored to their deepest fears, and each encounter left them shaken. Lucas, tormented by his dreams, painted a mural of the clown on the barn wall. "It's not just a clown," he said, his voice trembling. "It's everything. It's whatever scares us most." The mural seemed to shift when they weren't looking, the clown's smile widening, its eyes following them. One night, Sarah woke to find a red balloon floating in her room. The window was locked, the air icy. Words were scrawled on her mirror in red crayon. "You'll float too." She screamed, and her parents found nothing but the balloon, which popped when they touched it, leaving a faint smell of decay. The Dreamers met in the barn, their faces pale but resolute. "We can't ignore this," Tommy said. "It's coming for us next." Sarah shared her findings. The shadow was an entity that fed on fear, especially the fear of children. It hibernated for decades, waking every 27 years to hunt. The only way to stop it was to face it together. They made a pact, sealing it with a blood oath, pricking their palms with a pocket knife and pressing their hands together. "We're stronger than it," Marcus said, his quiet voice steady. "It's afraid of us too." Ellie, clutching a tattered stuffed rabbit, whispered, "It doesn't want us to remember. It wants us to be alone." Her words hung in the air, a truth they couldn't ignore. They vowed to stick together no matter what. The dreamers devised a plan to lure the shadow into the open. They would use its own tricks against it, baiting it with their fear. Lucas painted a massive red balloon on a canvas, infusing it with his terror of the clown. They placed it near the storm drain on Carver Street, where Jamie had vanished. As night fell, the air grew heavy, the streetlights flickering. In the shadow of the Colorado Rockies, the Overlook Hotel stood as a decaying monument to grandeur and dread. Built in the early 1900s, its opulent halls once hosted the elite, but whispers of tragedy clung to its walls like frost. Guests vanished, staff spoke of strange noises, and the hotel's ledger bore names that seemed to repeat across decades. By 1975, the Overlook was a relic, open only in summer, its winter isolation too perilous for visitors. Yet it drew those desperate or foolish enough to answer its call. The Thompson family, Mark, Laura, and their 8-year-old son Ethan, arrived in October seeking refuge. Mark, a struggling writer and recovering alcoholic, accepted the caretaker's job to escape his demons and rebuild his family. Laura, weary from years of Mark's volatility, hoped the solitude would mend their fractured bond. Ethan, sensitive and imaginative, felt the hotel's pull before they crossed its threshold. He saw things, flashes of faces in mirrors, shadows that moved against the light. The Overlook wasn't just a building, it was alive, hungry, and waiting. Inspired by Stephen King's The Shining, this story weaves a new tale of horror within the Overlook's cursed walls. The hotel's malevolent spirit preys on the Thompsons' vulnerabilities, twisting their minds and testing their will to survive. Across 10 sections, each approximately 400 words, the narrative explores the elements of horror, an oppressive atmosphere, vulnerable characters, creeping tension, eerie sounds, unsettling visuals, universal fears, a mysterious plot, cultural symbolism, shock, and psychological torment. The story culminates in a battle against the hotel's relentless evil, leaving readers questioning what is real and who can be saved. As the Thompsons settle into their winter prison, the Overlook awakens. Its halls hum with memories of blood and betrayal, and its rooms whisper promises of power and destruction. Mark's sobriety falters, Laura's hope fades, and Ethan's visions grow darker. The hotel doesn't just want to scare them, it wants to claim them. This is a story of isolation, madness, and the thin line between love and ruin. Welcome to the Overlook, where the past never dies, and the future is a scream in the dark. The Thompsons' station wagon rattled up the winding road, the Rockies looming like silent judges. Mark gripped the wheel, his knuckles white, muttering about a fresh start. Laura stared out the window, the hotel's silhouette emerging through the pines, a sprawling, snow-dusted castle that felt both majestic and wrong. Ethan, in the back seat, clutched his sketchbook, drawing jagged lines he couldn't explain. "It's watching us," he whispered, but his parents didn't hear. The caretaker's quarters were cozy but cold, the air heavy with the scent of old wood and something metallic. The hotel manager, Mr. Ullman, gave a hurried tour, his smile too tight. He spoke of the Overlook's history, galas, presidents, a 1920s murder-suicide in room 217, but avoided Ethan's wide, knowing eyes. Boilers tricky, Ullman warned. Keep it steady, or the whole place could blow. Mark nodded, distracted, already imagining his novel's opening lines. That night, the family unpacked in silence. Laura arranged Ethan's toys, hoping routine would ground them. Mark found a bottle of whiskey in a cabinet, left by some long-gone caretaker. He stared at it, heart pounding, then shoved it into a drawer. Ethan sat by the window, sketching the hedge maze outside. His pencil scratched out shapes, faces with hollow eyes, hands reaching from the snow. "They're already here," he said, voice small. Laura knelt beside him, brushing his hair. "It's just a hotel, sweetie." But the overlook disagreed. As midnight struck, the walls creaked, not with settling wood, but with intent. In the ballroom, a chandelier swayed, though no wind stirred. Footsteps echoed in the empty gold room, too heavy for human feet. Ethan woke, heart racing, and saw a shadow pass under his door. A woman's silhouette, her head tilted at an impossible angle. He hid under his blanket, whispering, "Go away." The shadow paused, then retreated, but the air grew colder. By morning, the family felt the weight of the place. Mark dismissed the noises as old pipes. Laura noticed scratches on the walls, too high for Ethan to reach. Ethan said nothing, but his sketchbook filled with horrors only he could see. The overlook was waking, and the Thompsons were its prey. A week passed, and the overlook's charm frayed. Snow piled high, sealing the Thompsons in. Mark spent hours in the basement, wrestling with the boiler's hissing valves, his temper flaring at its stubbornness. Laura cooked meals in the vast kitchen, but the clatter of Laura dreamt of a woman in a white dress, her face a rotting mask, beckoning from room 217. Ethan's nightmares were vivid. Children in old-fashioned clothes, their eyes black, chanting his name in the hedge maze. He told Laura, but she hugged him, saying, "Just dreams, Ethan." Mark scoffed. "Kids got an imagination like mine." One afternoon, Ethan found the gold room unlocked. Inside, dusty mirrors reflected a bar stocked with bottles that gleamed despite the gloom. He heard a voice, low, male, smooth. "You're a special, Ethan. You shine." He ran, heart pounding, and told Laura. She checked the room, finding it locked, the bar empty. "You're tired, sweetie," she said, but her hands trembled. That night, Mark found the whiskey bottle again. He poured a glass, promising just one. The radio crackled, playing big band music from nowhere. He laughed it off, but the glass felt heavy.